All right. Welcome to Simple but Hard, a 15-minute uncut podcast where we dive into the simple but hard fundamentals of success across many different disciplines of life. Eric Cogorno is a golf pro, content creator, personal development junkie, and entrepreneur. And I've listened to many of his podcasts talking about his content, business, and golf community, and am excited to bring him on the show today. So, we are diving into the simple but hard process of building a creator-led business through a community. Eric, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to chat here today.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, why did you choose the community model over like a course or like a high ticket coaching model? What was the thought there?
So the short answer is when I created content or decided I was going to create content online, it was all based around how I could scale my golf coaching, right? So
Okay.
how could I go from coaching one person for 1 hour in person, as you know, to like, how do I coach as many people as humanly possible? And so that was like creating content online. And then, hey, what do I want to do with those people? What do I want to funnel them into? And at that same time that I started creating content, I did this sort of goal setting dream life thing where I figured out how much money I needed to make. Right. So I'm going to reverse engineer the answer. So once I figured out, like, hey, for me to do this goal setting, this dream life, I need to make X amount of dollars. Then I started to do the math on like, what would my business need to look like to make this amount of money every month? It was $100,000 a month. That was the number. It was like, how do I make $100,000 a month? And so at that time, the guys that I were watching online were really pushing this like sticky recurring revenue model, this online creation thing. So I just thought it would be easier to create higher monthly recurring revenue by having a subscription monthly price point versus like a one-time product payment. Now, there was some ancillary little fluffy stuff of like, I want to help people and I thought the community would help them learn better. There's some other stuff like that too, but from a business perspective, which was the first priority, I thought I could maximize the amount of revenue by having monthly recurring revenue versus the one-time product payment. The bonus to me was that I think a community of people learn better. I think the accountability of the people were helps the learning. I thought people could learn from each other. I wanted all those things as well, but if I'm being honest, that was secondary to that. I thought the numbers made more sense that way.
Got it. And so in order to hit that 100K a month, how did you do that math in your head? Because I'm sure it was okay, this many members at this price point. What was that initial math like compared to what? Because I know that I think that you started off at like what, $30 a month or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and to give someone an idea, at this point in time, when I came up with the concept that I want to make $100,000 a month, I was making probably like $80,000 a year. So I was nowhere. $100,000 a month to me, when it's football said make like $1 billion a year. It was so unfathomable to me. So yeah, I did a Grant Cardone millionaire math booklet thing that I got, and it's basically like you just take a million and you divide it in all kinds of different ways and see what makes the most sense. And so I decided the best for me would be 2,000 people at $50 a month,
Hmm.
was kind of how I was doing the math at it. I thought $50 a month was such a low price, I'd get people to pay it, right? And I thought, okay, shoot, I can get 2,000 people to sign up for something that shouldn't be too difficult. Um, so yeah, the math came from 2,000 people at 50. Now looking back upon it now, it's like, okay, maybe 1,000 people at 100 would have been a better start. Yeah,
Hmm.
maybe 500 people at 200. I probably would have went less people, higher price point if I started
Hmm.
from zero today. But at that point, yeah, it was 2,000 people at $50 a month.
Wow. That's cool, man. That's cool. Okay. So here's a question. If someone wanted to build a similar type of business to what you have in golf, what are the three biggest mistakes that you would
Hmm.
tell them avoid these at all costs?
The three biggest mistakes. Well, I'm going to answer it this way. I think a lot of people come to me asking how to build things online before they've spent, to me, the prerequisite time to build expertise at the thing. Like before I started doing videos online and doing the online subscription, I had studied and coached every day in person for like a decade, like spent all
Yeah.
of my energy getting great at golf coaching. So I think the number one mistake is not spending enough energy getting great at the skill, at the
Mm.
expertise of whatever you're doing that's selling.
Yeah.
And obviously now compared to, when we started YouTube at 2016, 17 and coaching before, everything's so fast. And so, yeah, if you have someone who's been coaching for 6 months and then they want to build a big online community, I'm like, well, you don't even know how to coach yet. Like you don't even, you know what I mean? So that would be piece number one. I think the second thing is most all of us need to focus on building a bigger audience first and then learning how to monetize that audience second. Like I
Mm.
think if time wasn't a factor and I could build a perfect thing out, like I'm going to be launching a personal development channel like the golf, in coming years and shifting into that. It's like if you could take a decade to get really good at the thing and then take like 3 to 5 years to build a big audience, and then you could right hook them and do a lot of monetization. So I think mistake number two is rushing to monetization. And I know we all have to pay bills and stuff, but I think you should get really great at what you do and make enough money doing that in person or whatever you need to do, and then use this as like a secondary side hustle that eventually can take over. So I think mistake number two is not monetizing too soon.
Mm.
um, and then I think the third thing is it's going to take more time and energy almost always than you initially perceive. So like everything I've done that's been successful, whatever amount I've anticipated, the work it's going to take, the amount of whatever, literally you name it, it's always taken way more energy. I write a plan out of how I'm going to get 2,000 people at $50 a month, and that plan's gotten rewritten about 1,000 times. So I think build more, take more time to get better at the thing you do. Like if you're one of the best, for me, golf coaches in the world, you're going to find like it's a lot easier to find these opportunities to create money and do sort of stuff like that. And also, I think if you're not great at it, you get exposed eventually. So get great at it first. I think focus on building audience versus monetizing, especially in the beginning. Um, yeah, gosh, I think those are two really big ones. And then like whatever
Mm.
plans you put in place, plan on like 10xing that in terms of
Mm.
energy and effort. I like those three. I got to write that
That's
down for
pretty
later.
good. Yeah. I'll make sure you get this because I feel like that's pretty solid, man. Okay. What would you say? So I know that you've brought on coaches to your team, right? How have you thought about bringing on coaches? What were some of the challenges of bringing on coaches? When did you
Mhm.
bring them on? What did that look like?
Yeah. So initially, obviously, I did all the online coaching myself. Right. So I did lessons in person, found a business partner, Mary, who we would do the videos together, which was a godsend. You can find someone to help you do it versus doing it yourself. And then, so I was doing all the lessons by myself online. And then, as you know, and everyone knows, I mean, there's just so many hours in the day where you can get to so many people. And honestly, man, I got really lucky that we started doing this kind of early enough, 2017, where I met some really great golf coaches who hadn't really started doing online stuff yet, but they were tremendous coaches who didn't have their own platforms. And so these were just guys that I met. We would go do collab videos for YouTube. I knew people from just online golf community, and I would go, and let's say for every 10 guys we'd go shoot collab videos with, one or two, I'd be like, oh, these are studs. Like these guys are A players. And then I would make them an offer of like, hey, I'm building this online thing. Would love for you to be able to coach with me. And it got to be easy, Angel, on their app because it'd be like, I'm going to guarantee you these lessons. I'm going to guarantee you this income, right? We prepay every month for all the lessons and stuff. So I think for them, it was sort of an easy way to monetize online without even having to put the content out.
Right.
So you don't have to shoot your own videos. You don't have to edit them. You don't do it. Like I'll give you the online lessons. And so it started with me and then me and one other guy and then me and two other guys, and then three, four, five, and then now we have seven,
Wow.
which has been good. But it's like it'd be different if it was like I think it's harder if I hired someone I'm like training them to coach, like a college student, or whatever. The guys that I hire are already studs. Like in my mind, they're as good or better than me at coaching.
Hmm.
So it's like these guys when these members come in, and of course some people in the beginning are like, hey, I want to work with you. I don't know about working with these other guys. And I say, trust me, like these guys are equally as good or better. Try one. Like as soon as you see it, these guys are so good, it's undeniable. And I haven't really had any issues with that because we only hire like 8+ guys.
Interesting. That didn't necessarily have platforms, and so it was like an immediate opportunity for them to come in and do what they love now online.
Totally. And like if I was going to do it today, I would hand pick the same guys who maybe they already have platforms, but they're smaller. I'd say, hey, why don't you come join a bigger team? We'll provide, like all like if someone's watching that's looking for coaches too, if you find people who are maybe earlier in the process, but they have talent and they're really good, and you can provide for them the things that they're struggling to get. If they're not getting people to sign up for their online coaching or whatever, and you provide all those things for that, then I found it to be an easy win-win.
Interesting. Interesting. Who, or I guess maybe what, are a few other community-based subscription type businesses that you think are really crushing it in the, whether it's in golf or in different spaces that you look at and you're like, man, those guys, like I want to be running in the same crew as those guys.
Yeah, the thing, I don't watch as many other sports. I don't think there's a ton of good ones in the golf space, if I'm being honest with you. But where I think people do really well, that's intriguing to me, is the fitness space.
Hmm.
So, like the 75 hard Andy
Yeah.
Frisella that came out, P90X, people in fitness. Yeah, I'm really interested in that space of people that do that, who build programs, have communities, right, have sticky revenue. And you see in fitness, when people get into it, they're like raving fans very quickly, like CrossFit. I mean, I had a million people tell me about CrossFit, right? That's like all free advertising. You get into CrossFit, they love it. The 75 hard, the same sort of thing. There's this like, it's an easy community around that. And why? Because, well, the fitness thing too, the product's so damn good. Like when you do fitness and you feel better physically, mentally, emotionally, like it's overwhelming how good you feel. You want to share that with other friends. So I like that, like I like a model with some of these fitness people where they would do a challenge. Like next year, we're going to incorporate more of these challenges, shorter term. I think people want more of that 30-day, 6-week, 8-week, 90-day condensed challenges that are maybe more focused. I focus so much on, because I want people to stay for as long as possible, the sticky revenue. But I realized too, like I'm losing a little bit of the upfront of people would be able to pay more, invest more time and energy for a shorter sprint and
Hmm.
get them great results. And then they become raving fans. But I just think with fitness, it's so easy because also you can generalize some things. Golf
Hmm.
swings are so unique and so personalized that part of our whole thing is like, dude, I need to see your swing to give you a plan. I can't really give you a generic plan. It's not going to be as effective. But for fitness, I could kind of put a pretty general plan together for most people. They can all
Hmm.
do it. And also with the fitness, dude, it's quick wins. Like these
Yeah.
programs with these things where you get quick wins. So like you go in and do a workout and you start feeling better, after day one or day two, you got an immediate result from that thing. So I like businesses like that too. Quick wins, you become a raving fan really easy. And like fitness never goes away. You have to stay in shape for your whole life, right? Like that's a product that you could have for your whole life. So that's more of where I'm interested in. I'm interested in that. Obviously, I pay attention to the personal development space a lot. So I think some people do really well around there, like a Brendan Burchard,
Hmm.
with a mix of online community, challenges throughout the year, live events. I think that business model plays well when you do the math on some of the books I'm sure you've read of, like you only need 1,000 raving fans. If you can get this recurring monthly revenue, do a couple of bigger events per year, challenges, and some live events, you can start to make, build a business that makes a couple $1 million a year without needing millions and millions and millions of followers. So long answer, but that's sort of the spaces I'm looking at.
It's cool, man. Okay, last question, and we'll wrap this up. What's on your vision board now? That dream thing now, right? You said before you had that up on your whiteboard or your wall, whatever. What's up there right now?
Yeah, I still have those same 8 sheets. I still write down every day, the daily goals, the weekly goals, the monthly, the yearly, the 3, 5, 10 long term. So I've made it a habit over the past like 7 years of doing that. I still write those couple words down every day for 7 years. Those things that I'm committed to doing, every day for my whole life to just keep getting that a little bit better and better and better and better.
Hmm.
Um, so it's interesting, I think, as you go along the process and you hear other people talk about it, but it's one of those things I think you have to go through yourself to really learn, which is like, the journey's the goal, not the final destination thing. And then you're like, all right, as I'm halfway along some of these 10-year goals I set, you realize like, okay, if I got those things, my life isn't going to be that different than it is now. I'm going to kind of feel the same. I'll probably have nicer stuff, but that isn't going to, the ticket or the solution to all my problems aren't always those accomplishments. And that's been an interesting lesson, to be learned. And I think you move goalposts. So like, in the golf space, it's like, I think we're going to hit all the things I wanted to hit. So what are new challenges? What are new things that are interesting and keep me growing and challenging? And then, like I mentioned, I think the last thing is the personal development. So as of 2024, we're going to start from scratch and build a personal development brand like we did with the golf. So YouTube, organic, online. I'm going to talk or do a lot of the things I've been saying here, building an audience. I think I spent the past 7 years building an expertise and studying it. Now
Yeah.
we're going to spend the next 3 to 5 years building an audience, and then we'll figure out how to monetize that later. I just think it's cool to help people with golf, and I think part of like what your journey, it seems like from an outside perspective too. It's cool to help people with golf and a sport and stuff, but man, the impact you can make, on someone's entire life through personal development, I think is much stronger. So I'm looking to impact a lot more people, um, build a much bigger audience, and help outside of just the golf space in the next, 5 to 10 years. Is really, I think, the push like that. I think we could keep pushing what we're doing with golf and build a personal development business alongside of that is the goal.
What would that do for you personally if you could actually impact all those people?
I think so. You had baseball. You had baseball thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's like, someone writes you a message and they tell you how much you helped them with, their baseball or for me their golf. It's like cool, and there's some impactful stuff. I think you can change some people's lives, but I think the way you feel if someone sends you a message that you literally change like their entire life, how they feel, how they think, their relationships. I just think that the impact you can have on there is more deeper, more effective. Like I coach a lot of guys, 55-year-old guy, CEO, and I help him play better golf. And I like that. But I just think I can do more than that. I think there's a deeper thing like that. So I'm interested in that. I'm interested in the challenge of it also. It's like there's a lot of people doing personal development. There's a lot there's a lot of people in that space. I'm interested to challenge myself to dive into there. Can I be as good as I think I can be? Like I think what's the best version of you, look like in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years? Like what could you actually do? I'm interested to see what that's like for me. Who can I get around and what can I do and can't do? And then I also think the third part of it is like just like the golf stuff, I'm always thinking business and financial. And so I'm also not lost on the fact that like, the revenue that gets spent in personal development is significantly higher than golf coaching by 1,000x.
Yeah.
Um, so I think for me, it makes a lot of sense, man. It's like, okay, I can help and impact a lot more people. A, B, I think I can see how good and what I can actually become. B or two, and then I think three, it's like the financial things can be 10x. I also think you okay running a little long here.
Yeah.
I also think like, you know, one of the things I heard Grant Cardone say that always sticks with me is like, it's not that much harder to run a business or do a thing that makes 100 million versus like a million, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. I listen to Patrick Bet David a lot too, and he talks about a lot about that too. And he's like, hey, I'm only interested in businesses that do a billion. It's like, why? Because to build $100 million business and a billion is kind of the same deal. Like it takes a lot of effort either way. And so I can see with golf coaching, and I'm sure with baseball and other sports too, there's a ceiling. Not that we're close to a ceiling, but there's a ceiling of what you can do. And so if I'm going to put 100% of my energy into a thing, I want that ceiling to be higher. I want that impact to be bigger. And so I think the same amount of energy, skill, time, consistency in golf over the next 10 years into a better vehicle, which I would define by like bigger pool of people, better impact, produces much greater, potential results. And honestly, dude, it's kind of cool to be back to day one. Like we just filmed our first pro development videos, and it felt like back, 7, 8 years ago, like filming our first golf stuff. Like you're kind of a student on day one. I think you do something for a while and you start to get comfortable, in what you're doing, and there's pros and cons to that. And I think so I'm excited. I'm excited for the challenge of that and what's to come. And maybe we'll do another one of these like a couple of years from now once that's built up, and I'll have different answers to that question.
Yeah. Okay. One more question on the personal development side, because from my perspective, one of the big things that I see in you that is really valuable and attractive is the business side as well. When you think about your personal development stuff, are you going to try to lean into the business education too, or is it more so like habits, like yeah, I'm sure it will probably encompass a lot of that, but as you think about like your niche within the personal development space, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, I'm not sure. I think there's
Yeah.
part of why I wanted to wait to do the personal development was that I wanted to feel like I've earned the right to talk about the business stuff. So like if I'm in a room with Alex Hormozy talking about business stuff, I'm probably not opening my mouth. I'm sitting in the corner and I'm listening, right? But if I'm in the room full of people who are like where I was, maybe they're coaching or doing whatever and they're making 80, 100 grand a year and they want to make a million a year, like that I've done, that I can talk you through. I can talk people through wanting to build a brand online and stuff like that. So I want to talk about stuff that I've done, that I feel like I could help other people do. So I feel like, probably a little bit of that's me. Would be self-conscious about that depending upon who's in the room. Like I listen to these Patrick Bet-David and Grant Cardone, these guys, and like, hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm not at that level. Maybe I will be, maybe I won't be. Um, yeah, I think the business thing will be for the right audience, like I think maybe some of the people that we would talk to try and help out. But I think the life stuff, um, is applicable whether I'm talking to someone who's worth 100 billion or zero, of
Yeah.
like how to structure your day, how to improve yourself, how to go from, you know, when I started doing the personal development stuff, I think I had like maybe $1,000 to my name. I didn't start with $1 million and making $1 million a year. So it's like, how could you go from making $80,000 a year and you start thinking about making 1.2? As a kid in a small town, Pennsylvania, it's like that's stuff people don't teach you, or at least the people
Yeah.
I had access to. So I think it's the mindset stuff. I think the living stuff, and I think I found ways to like be really. I like Ed Milet talks about being blissfully. What does he say? Blissfully unsatisfied. How do you teeter that line of like I'm very happy, even though my face might not look like it all the time when I'm talking. Sometimes I see my face and I'm real stern. But like, how do you be very happy along the way? Build a lifestyle you want and stuff like that. And that's applicable for you and me, or whoever we talk to. So I'm keen on that. I'm keen on that part too.
Cool. Well, Eric, thank you, man. This has been
Yeah, we
awesome.
almost
Any
did
last?
15 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Um, where can people find you? Obviously, the YouTube channel. If anyone wants to reach out to you, like what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can find me Eric Cogorno Golf on all the current socials. Depending upon when you listen to this, over time and years to come, we'll have a YouTube and personal development brand. It's gonna be something like Lessons I've Learned with Eric Cogorno or something to that effect. If you listen to this in years ahead, you can watch some of those.
Yeah, starting at zero right now. So whenever you
To
listen
be
to
the first
this,
subscriber.
remember, yeah, remember. Well, Eric, thanks so much for coming on, man. And I'm rooting for you. And thanks for sharing all the wisdom that you have.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Let's do it again soon.
Okay.
Thanks.